And so next year I told her already that she's doing this speech. So I just have a few notes before I get on to my, I guess, yearly speech. First of all, you all have on your table the flyers about our upcoming holiday. We hope some of you will join us tomorrow night for study here at 8 o'clock. And it's a flyer on your table. Take a look, and we hope you join us Wednesday at 9:30 and Thursday at 9:30, and this will be Thursday approximately around 11. So we give out a few Cause awards, and I just received a thank you note today. One of the awards, by the way, is an Israel Stein Award. I haven't gotten a thank you note for that, but they just gave out the awards. This one happened to come today for another scholarship we give out. Dear Mrs. Bowles and Congregation Rodeph Sholom, as a third-generation Holocaust survivor, I was honored to be awarded the Congregation Rodeph Sholom Holocaust Education Award. Thank you for your generous gift, especially now during these tough times. It is essential to learn and pass the lessons of the Holocaust to ensure a better future for all and to teach the historic words of quote unquote never again. Though my Merkaz days may be over, I will continue to pass on all that I have learned to my generation and generations to come. Thank you, Jessie Dad. So that was one. Okay, the officers, the current officers, I have a little something for each of you, so don't leave tonight without getting it from me. In the back on the stage, before you leave, every officer has done a report. And because we didn't want to be here forever because we were dedicating the tours, also we decided that every officer's report would be in writing, and please pick them up and you will get a good idea of what they've done, though some of the things I do mention. I want to also thank Cindy and Gary Katz and Jill Lesser for donations towards tonight's dinner. And I want to mention that today Charlie Gracie made a donation to the synagogue in honor of the board. So thank you. Last but not least, a few of you are looking at the young fellow over here. So I just want to introduce you to Theo. Theo Gross. Theo just graduated from Princeton a couple of weeks ago. And he started coming to our services when he was home, I guess a couple of years ago. And so about a couple of weeks ago, we didn't have a rabbi here. Not a problem. Theo read Torah, he read the Haftorah. We didn't miss the rabbis. It was okay. So Theo is wonderful. He steps in, he helps out, and we love having him at our services on Saturday morning because he brings the average age point down.
We take advantage of him whenever we can.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Lots to say, lots of information to give. Over the past 6 years, I think we can all agree that we've had an amazing group of officers who have spent hours volunteering on behalf of Rodeph Sholom. I think we can also agree that despite the many challenges of the past years, these officers have worked hard to move Rodeph Sholom forward. We thank and honor the efforts of our current officers, Erwin Schildkraut, Sharon Sachs, Carol Weinschel, Brian Bedford, Chuck Swecker, Larry Shire, and Laura Friedman. And as of July 1, we're going to add Debbie Weiss and David Goldstein. I want to recognize those who served my first few years, including Mike Fleischer, Alan Alper, Peachy Resco, Cy Wiesenfeld, and Charlie Woodlitz. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. With our clergy, trustees, and members, we are well positioned to enter next year with some major changes to be discussed. I want to thank Mike Fleischer for his years of work straightening out our finances, endowments, with the assistance of Brian Bedford and the bookkeeping system, systematically cutting and monitoring our expenses, hiring Kesef, and hiring and training our finance manager, Dave Hepworth. I also want to thank all the past officers for all they have done and their continued participation on the board. I would be remiss if I did not speak about this current group. I want you to know some of what they do. Thanks to Zoom, we've had many officers' meetings, and this group has sacrificed much personal time when needed. Let me begin by thanking all for going above and beyond to do their work, which paid staff had previously done. Erwin Schildkraut, VP of Ritual is instrumental each and every year, making sure our high holiday services run smoothly. This is a huge job. He also is a very big part of leading our Zoom services with clergy in January and February, as well as Zoom part of the daily morning services and some Zoom exclusive services. Vice President of Finance Sharon Sachs and Chuck Swecker can coordinate all of our bank accounts and investments, prepare payroll every 2 weeks, analyze monthly revenue and expenses, prepare the annual budget, sign checks, and oversee all bills and payments. They also coordinate both the finance and investment committees. I want to thank them for working with our wonderful finance director, Dave Hepworth, who works part-time for us and makes himself available whenever needed. His input, expertise, and dedication to this part-time job is so appreciated. I know Sharon and Chuck agree we could not do it without Dave. Vice President Carol Weinshell oversees membership and programming and so much more. Our programming is wonderful. The Veterans Programming is a model for other synagogues and, for that matter, other houses of worship. Having a Zoom every night of Hanukkah to light the candles together while learning has been fun and joyful for our members. Besides programming, Carol co-chairs the cemetery committee, helps prepare and shop for Kiddush each week, has taken on various building projects, donated the new carpeting you saw tonight in our chapel, prepares our twice-yearly bulletin, and scans past records to preserve them. I can't even estimate the number of hours she spends each week to better Rodeph Sholom. House Vice President Brian Bedford has overseen every single bit of $134,000 in building projects this year. He is here 7 days a week and does his daily walkthrough, which sometimes produces a few surprises. Brian does everything from replacing light bulbs to trash pickup around the building, as well as extra landscaping and trash pickup at our cemeteries. Brian's financial background is most helpful in his service on the finance committee and the cemetery committee. He has a thorough knowledge of our endowment funds and approves every expenditure from the funds. Brian also ushers every Shabbat and festival service, and I'm sure I'm missing something. Co-secretaries, Laura Friedman and Larry Shire have done a great job recording minutes, which is not easy when dealing with people in person and on Zoom simultaneously. Larry has taken the lead on security, which has been vital. Laura helps and assists with all that is needed, from mailings to participation in our services most evenings on Zoom, which enables many people to stay Kaddish. She represents the executive committee in that most important way. Toda Rabah to Rabbi Eisenberg and Rabbi Hirsch. They have both supported me personally. We are very fortunate to have these two rabbis who, despite being part-time, are always there for me. Their sermons, discussions, and words throughout the year have touched, informed, and inspired me. Your friendship, thoughtfulness, and kindness were a bonus, and I appreciate it. Thank you to Rabbi Prager, who was maybe going to be here tonight, I don't think he's here, for all he does to contribute and add to our Shabbat service when called upon. Another bonus. We also thank Rabbi Nelson, who continues to be connected with us. He's truly a blessing to our community. I want to give special thanks to Sue Spivak and Scott Bedford for running the office. Having Scott Bedford, an alum of our synagogue, become our synagogue administrator has been a perfect fit. We are grateful for all he does and every day, and he keeps things running smoothly. Scott is here to greet all with a smile and is a wonderful problem solver. We have benefited from his Ezra Academy background, his education in law, and his artistic abilities. We thank Sue for training Scott in running the office. Sue is a volunteer who provides important and much appreciated customer service. Her organization, hours of dedication when we had no office staff at all, compassion and patience gave us an important presence in our community when it was needed. Sue does many little things that people don't realize. As an example, she takes phone calls and emails from non-members, many of whom live out of state, looking for a Hebrew name or a cemetery location. Often her research results in burial in a cemetery other than our own. No matter, Sue goes to the cemetery, locates the grave, takes a picture of the stone, and sends it to the family. Sometimes these people have plaques in our sanctuary, which leads to completion of another history behind the plaque. All Sue does represents Rodeph Sholom and indeed gives us a reputation of going above and beyond to assist people. She prepares yard site notifications, the memorial book, and coordinates the Rosh Hashanah honeymoon. project. Sue also makes herself available when Scott is away and is liaison with the Church of Apostles. I am most grateful. As you can see, our staff and volunteers work very hard to make Rodeph Sholom a synagogue that addresses the needs of all of our members and serves the greater community. Past, present, future. We look with pride to the past, our legacy, and the tremendous work and programming that has been a hallmark of Rodeph Sholom. We are proud of the many rabbis, cantors, and Jewish community leaders who grew up and were educated here at the corner of Park and Capitol. With impact, their impact and reach have been far and wide, and they continue to influence the next generation. We think about and treasure memories of family simcha services, past clergy, and friends. As we look at the recent past, we see the many challenges we face, be it the pandemic or less active participation. In this regard, we are similar to many houses of worship. Despite the TLC, repairs, and facelifts, our beautiful building still shows and acts its age. Like we spoke about last year and committed to a year ago, we addressed two major house issues. The first of which was a leak in the cantor's office in the sanctuary. We saw scaffolding for weeks while work was done to fix the roof, flashing and pointing. Repairs were also done to the front steps where water had seeped into the restrooms in the chapel lobby. Second, we finally took on the long overdue project. We removed our 75-year-old underground oil tank, and luckily there were no underlying environmental concerns. Since the cost to convert to gas was prohibitive, we installed a new above-ground oil tank. We currently have scaffolding up to address a leak in the bridal loft and around one of the circular stained glass windows. That is a new problem. We recently fixed classroom leaks on the first floor, another new problem. We unexpectedly had to replace the oil burner on the furnace. The cost was over $11,000. When discussed at a board meeting, not only was the replacement approved, but many board members stepped up to the plate, and through their generosity, the cost was almost completely covered. We spent $134,000 this year on repairs and some capital projects which were entirely overseen by Brian Bedford. Donations received specifically for house projects, including the oil burner, amounted to $16,400. So the synagogue essentially spent $117,778 on repairs, which was well over budget and not sustainable. The Church of Apostles lease is up in September. They too have had successes and some struggles. They have warned us that their goal is to buy a building within the next couple of years. The only way they can do that is by reducing their rent substantially if they stay. The Bridgeport Symphony is still paying rent, but no longer has a lease with us due to their financial difficulties. They are on a month-to-month basis. Though we have tried and have come close, we were not able to rent any other space to nonprofit. So let's talk about the present. I remind you that the cost of operating this building comes completely from rental income. Membership dues don't even cover salaries. The remainder of the salaries, kiddishes, insurance, programming, ritual, and USCJ dues, etc., come from revenue generated from your donations throughout the year and the response to the high holiday appeal. Today, we have many wonderful communities within our larger synagogue community. We have a Shabbat morning community, we have a rabbi's class community, we have the 7-night-a-week in-person and Zoom services community led by volunteers Joe Schwartz and Keith Rubenstein. We have a board of trustees community, and we have those who come a couple of times a year, our Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur community. As you can see, we strive to meet the needs of our members who choose what they want to be a part of. For the most part, we are a 65 and over congregation. We have been able to contribute to and participate in our greater Jewish community, and I believe we've been impactful. In the last 2 years, we've donated to the following through our restricted endowments, raffle proceeds, and volunteer hours. $8,405 to Federation Sword of Iron for Israel since October 7th. PJ Library, $20,000 in March of 2023. Israelis in Connecticut for displaced children packages, thanks to Deb Weiss. Bridgeport Rescue Mission. Connecticut Funeral Association Toy Drive, thanks to Sam and Jonathan Green and Caroline Shell. JSS Women's Auxiliary. Jewish Senior Services. St. John's Family Center and Soup Kitchen Kitchen thanks to Brian Bedford, Legacy Scholarships for Children in Hebrew School, Miracaz Awards, the Jewish Congregation of Maui After the Fires, the Bridgeport Police, Operation Hope, Crop Walk, thanks to Beverly Peck, Caroline Shaw, and Brian Bedford, BBYO scholarships for full membership to 15 teenagers. In addition, Sisterhood coordinates Women's League for Conservative Judaism Torah Fund, which supports scholarships and programs in the worldwide, Conservative Masorti Institutes of Higher Learning, thanks to Lisa Rappaport and Ross Stein. Rodeph Sholom has much to be proud of. Now I'll take a drink before I move on to the future. I think I need something more than water.
I was gonna say, what are you drinking?
Thanks, Sharon, I heard that. So this is a difficult part of the report. But first, let me tell you about something that happened, which has an impact on this. This past Friday, Rabbi Hirsch and Yorn received a phone call from a Bridgeport detective informing them of a credible threat to our specific building. They received the tip from the FBI, who received a tip from someone out of state about someone in state. I immediately informed Church of the Apostles Symphony and all Rodeph Sholom, who I expected to be in the building that day, that the building would be closed until further notice. I explained what happened and contacted Larry Shire, who contacted our Bridgeport police liaisons to make sure the call that Neymar received was indeed legitimate. They immediately asked us to meet them at the building, where I happened to be in town. So we did. There was already a police car here and an undercover car in the parking lot as well. The police thought that this would be resolved by 4 p.m. Friday afternoon. By 11 o'clock in the morning, our local federation and Connecticut ADL, who were notified of the threat, offered their support if needed. To make a long story short, the threat was resolved. A 13-year-old kid said online that he hated Jews and his family and specifically mentioned us. The police found the boy and his parents. The boy confessed. He chose Rodeph Sholom at random. I don't know if he Googled us or what. He had no weapons with which to carry out his threats, and he was taken to the hospital for evaluation. So this is a little background to our future. In early winter, we received a phone call informing us that a different church was interested in buying our building, even though it was not on the market. They offered us $5 million, had proof of financing, and wanted to close within 2 months. The board turned down that offer for several reasons. We had nowhere to go, no idea what to do with the contents of our building, and rentals were expensive. Though this church wanted us out, we could keep the chapel for 2 years. For more space, we would have to pay rent. We thought we would have to stay in order to downsize and figure out where to go. But then with more discussion, we learned that they don't have a security plan. We would not remain one day in a building without security as a priority. Even though this was a great offer and lots of money, this was not about the money. It was about our synagogue and safety. And by synagogue, I don't mean our building, but our community. Again, this brought up the inevitable, namely, we would be unable to sustain this building forever. Our entire rainy day fund has been spent on repairs this year. What were we going to do? I met with pastor of Citywide Church who wanted to buy the building last year. As you recall, that abruptly ended. On October 10th, he texted me the following. I want you to know that I'm praying for all my Jewish friends and extended families that might be impacted by the atrocities taking place. And by the way, the first 3 texts I received on October 7th were from Pastor Abilio from the Brazilian Baptist Mission, his son, and Pastor Murphy. So that's just a little background. Back to Citywide. In January, Pastor Luis sent me a picture of his first son, child number 4. We texted back and forth for a few minutes. In February, he texted me because he was texting a Debbie in his church and he thought of me. We texted about the Gaza ceasefire resolution in Bridgeport and he agreed with our position. One of his texts said, Gaza is getting everything they asked for. I feel bad for the civilians, but Hamas started this and then cried when Israel strikes back with a heavy hand. I will always hold the view that it's Israel's land and my mind is settled. More texts back and forth. He later said, Hamas has to stop hiding behind kids in hospitals. They are playing a propaganda war, and I don't know if we can trust statistics from them either. How can you coexist with a group whose whole existence is to eradicate you all? To see this in Bridgeport is scary for you all. Jewish hate is up 388%. I hope you have security. During these texts, we were dealing with the offer from the other church. I did not tell him about that. A couple of weeks after we turned down the $5 million offer, Pastor Luis reached out again to chat. We decided to meet and I went to his church. We discussed what went wrong last time, and I told him that we had just turned down a $5 million offer. His church is still looking for a bigger building and admitted he often avoids passing by Rodeph Sholom because it makes him so sad that we were not able to work something out. A year ago, the offer was $3.5 million, and we would have multiple paid leases after the first year, 3 years free. He said he could not pay more than $3.5 million now. After discussion, they offered $3.75 million and 10 years of free rent for exclusive use of the chapel and the wine shell lounge and most Saturday morning usage of French Hall with two two-year free extensions beyond that. So that's 14 years of free rent. For the first 5 years, and maybe beyond, but for the first 5 years, definitely, we can hold first day of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur Day services in the sanctuary. Some of the sanctuary will change. We also can use the sanctuary for life cycle events or a large program if they're not using it. All other high holiday services will be in French Hall, where many of us as kids spend high holidays. The funds from the sale would protect our cemeteries forever and would produce income to supplement the dues to pay our salaries as all clergy would stay. I remind you, dues don't cover the salaries. The Church of Apostles met with citywide. Their rent will be reduced so that they can stay for the 2 or 3 years and then buy their own building. COVID and the Brazilian Baptist Mission showed us that we can occupy a building with the church, coexist, and have a wonderful collaboration as neighbors and friends. The congregation overwhelmingly last year voted to sell to citywide, so there is no need for another vote. It is with respect and understanding that I stand before you again to discuss the sale of our building to a neighboring church and entering into a rental agreement for shared space. First and foremost, let us acknowledge the weight of this decision on the Board of Trustees. I want to thank Chuck Swecker, who's been coordinating with both citywide and our attorney, and I want to mention that nothing is signed yet. Rodeph Sholom stands as a testament to generations. Its walls have been filled with prayer, celebration, and much of our history. The bond we hold with this sacred place is unshakable, and the thought of parting is heartbreaking to many. This is a compromise for us. As we look at our membership's well-being, we must look to a way to have a future while honoring the past. In partnering with our neighbors at Citywide Church, we open the door to a new chapter of collaboration, mutual respect, and shared purpose, just like we did and we've had with the Church of Apostles the last 5 years. We can stay in the building without the burdens of ownership. We will be able to spend the next 10 years or so putting together a plan for the future of our cemeteries and our physical possessions. We get to enjoy each day in our chapel, and for those who attend services regularly, there will be no visible change other than better security. He doesn't think we have good security at all, so just a clue. The decision to sell the building and rent space back is not merely a financial transaction, though for sure we can no longer afford to maintain it to our standards. Rather, it is an opportunity to forge deeper connections, foster interfaith dialogue, and focus on our impact to our members and the broader Jewish and secular community. By embracing change with courage, we affirm our commitment to the values of Judaism. We are a synagogue, not a building. With the continued leadership of Rabbi Eisenberg, Rabbi Hirsch, and Rabbi Prafer, we will meet the needs of our members. As we contemplate this move forward, I hope we will do so with open hearts and open minds. Let us embrace this opportunity with courage and a spirit of collaboration. In a world marked by division and discord, we at Rodeph Sholom, whose very name means pursuer of peace, can send a powerful message of hope, resilience, and solidarity. The board will commit ourselves to the journey ahead, knowing that we can build a future that honors our past, our values, and our traditions. Thank you. anybody has any questions, unless anybody has anything they want to add now, I'll ask you to come up to any of the board members afterwards. I would ask you to take board reports because they work very hard on them. They're on the stage. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate it. And Rabbi, do you want to do a little benediction or something to end us here? Thank you.
Not having prepared anything, I would say that, Debbie, we just heard the benediction. We just heard it. But generally, a benediction closes a program. We just heard a different kind of benediction because it wasn't really a closing, it was an opening to, God willing, a bright and promising future. But also benediction, which is related to the idea of bracha or blessing. Benediction is embodied in a lay leadership, and in particular with Debbie, a lay leader who is indeed a blessing to our community and to our synagogue, devoted to our history and past, and also to our present, and also to a bright and hopeful future from a realistic perspective. So to allude to a great literary classic of the past, Don Quixote by Cervantes, we're not tilting at windmills here. This is realistic, what we are hearing, and the work that Debbie and the board have been doing is based on realistic and practical considerations of what would be best for our synagogue in the future. So there's no other benediction that I can offer than to simply say the Hebrew phrase, Tavo Aleichem Bracha, may blessings accrue and abound to each and every one of you. Amen.
Amen.